So, when we think about the biggest scams in history, our minds usually go straight to Wall Street. We think of smooth-talking billionaires in tailored suits like Bernie Madoff, or sleek, modern crypto bros like Sam Bankman-Fried, running brilliant psychological games out of luxury penthouses. But honestly, there is an even bigger, far more dangerous beast hiding right in plain sight. It's a multi-billion-dollar criminal industry that doesn't target greedy investors looking to get rich quick. It targets the sick, the elderly, and the dying. In late 2020, the United States Department of Justice announced a massive nationwide sting operation. It was the largest coordinated law enforcement action against institutional fraud in American history. Over 300 defendants, including dozens of fully licensed doctors, nurses, and top-tier medical executives, were arrested in one giant synchronized sweep. The total price tag of their collective crimes? A jaw-dropping $6,500,000,000. But here's the thing. This wasn't just a victimless crime against a giant government fund. This was a dark, systemic exploitation of vulnerable human beings, where medical professionals actively traded patient safety for cold, hard cash. So, how do you steal $6 billion from the medical system right under the nose of the Federal Bureau of Investigation? Let's break down the madness. Chapter 1. The Telehealth Trap. To understand the sheer scale of this heist, we have to look at the absolute biggest slice of the fraudulent pie, which came from the dark side of telemedicine. Now look, we all know that telehealth exploded in popularity over the last few years. Being able to see a doctor through your phone or computer completely changed the game for millions of people. But while regular citizens saw a convenient way to get healthcare, criminal networks saw the ultimate automated money-printing machine. Here's how the trap worked. Shady telemarketing companies set up massive, aggressive call centers. They bought up lists of phone numbers belonging to elderly citizens and disabled Americans who were enrolled in Medicare. Then, the cold calls started. These telemarketers would badger these seniors, telling them that the government was offering fully free, premium medical gear, things like expensive knee braces, back supports, or high-end pain relief creams. Most of the time, the seniors didn't even want or need them, but the callers were incredibly persistent. Once a senior gave in and said yes. The telemarketing firm needed a doctor to officially sign off on the prescription so they could bill the government. And that is where the corrupt medical professionals stepped into the shadow. These telemedicine companies recruited hundreds of dirty doctors. They paid them flat kickbacks, say $30 or $40 per signature. The doctors would sit at home, open up an online portal, and blindly sign thousands of prescriptions a week for patients they had never met, never spoken to, and whose medical histories they didn't know at all. It was a digital assembly line of absolute corruption. Chapter 2. The Pay and Chase System. So, you might be wondering, how on earth does a fake prescription for a knee brace translate into a $6 billion fraud? Well, honestly, it all comes down to a structural flaw in how the United States government pays out medical bills. It's a method inside the industry known as the pay and chase model. See, Medicare and Medicaid process literally millions of medical claims every single day. If the government stopped to meticulously verify and audit every single individual bill before paying it out, the entire healthcare system would grind to a complete halt. Hospitals would go broke waiting for cash, and pharmacies couldn't restock their shelves. So, to keep the wheels turning, Medicare operates on trust. They pay out the claims incredibly fast, usually within days, and then they try to chase down the fraud later during routine audits. The scammers knew this design flaw inside and out. Once they had that rubber-stamped prescription from their corrupt doctor, The telemarketing firms and corrupt medical supply companies would submit wildly inflated bills to Medicare. A knee brace that actually costs $20 to manufacture would be billed to the government as a specialized custom orthotic device worth $1,500. And the scale was absolutely mind-boggling. Some small, sketchy clinics out of Florida and Texas were caught submitting tens of millions of dollars in fake bills every single month. By the time the government's automated audit systems flagged that a tiny clinic was ordering more back braces than an entire major metropolitan hospital, the criminals had already cashed the checks. Chapter 3: The Pill Mills and the Vulnerable. But look, as massive as the telehealth scam was, the most devastating part of this institutional bust involved the active fueling of the opioid epidemic. While some doctors were busy signing papers for fake medical gear, others were running highly illegal, high-volume operations known as pill mills. These weren't legitimate medical clinics. They were corporate drug cartels disguised as doctors' offices. In this corner of the scam, corrupt physicians deliberately overprescribed massive quantities of highly addictive opioids, things like oxycodone and hydrocodone, to people who didn't have a single medical reason to take them. Why? Because the business model was incredibly lucrative. The clinics charged hundreds of dollars in cash for a standard consultation that lasted less than 60 seconds. The doctor would write out a heavy narcotics prescription, no questions asked, and point the patient toward a specific, complicit pharmacy that was also in on the scam. Chapter 4: The Digital Bloodhounds. If the pay-and-chase system is so easy to exploit, how did federal law enforcement finally crack a case this massive? Well, they didn't do it by sending undercover agents into every single clinic in America. Honestly, they did it with data math. They built a specialized elite team called the Healthcare Fraud Strike Force, using data analysts as their primary digital bloodhounds. The government loaded decades of billing data into powerful machine learning algorithms. They programmed the artificial intelligence to look for extreme statistical anomalies. They found a single pharmacy billing for expensive custom medications at a rate that surpassed the largest commercial pharmacies in the entire country. Once the data algorithms flagged these bizarre spikes, federal agents moved in with traditional old-school police work. They wiretapped phones, monitored bank accounts, and flipped lower-level employees to get inside the matrix. They discovered that the stolen billions weren't sitting safely in bank accounts. They were being laundered into an insane, ultra-luxury universe. We are talking about federal raids seizing multi-million-dollar sports cars, gold bars hidden in walls, luxury yachts, and massive overseas estates, all purchased directly with money that was supposed to care for cancer patients and low-income seniors. Conclusion: the institutional reckoning. The Department of Justice didn't just issue fines. They sent hundreds of armed federal agents to execute simultaneous raids across dozens of states, arresting hospital chief executive officers, prominent doctors, and tech executives on the exact same morning. Ultimately, the massive $6.5 billion takedown resulted in hundreds of convictions and epic prison sentences. It proved that corruption doesn't always wear a ski mask. Sometimes it wears a pristine white lab coat, carries a stethoscope, and sits behind a mahogany desk at your local medical clinic. So, what do you think is the best way to stop this madness? Should the government end the pay-and-chase model, even if it slows down real healthcare for regular people? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the dark side of history, and we'll see you in the next video.